All right, Sam Sim here. Um, I just had a few fallouts. One of them in which is the street hustler. You know, I did the series of videos, Educated Brother versus the street hustler. The street guys versus the educated guys. I'm not sure how I put it, but somewhere in season one. And of course, he's been in a few other videos as well. Now, I understand like the power of being able to speak and have your voice heard, but you know these topics in regards to the black community, I am definitely passionate about. So I'll sit and talk with you and debate with you for so long, but after we both said what we've had to say, it should be the end of it. Now, I started 2019 that way. I started on a positive note. Try to, avoid, having these conversations because they always end up in argument. And, one thing I do notice about him is that it takes him a while to really understand some of the points and some of the things that I'm saying, because recently, and I mean, I've stated this in season one, you've heard me say things like, he's telling me that, oh yeah, man, my girl, she got a friend, and her friend would love to be, with a guy like you, her kids would love to be raised by a man like you, and all of that shit, right? And then not only that, when it comes down to like fatherhood, I guess I'm good with kids, because even his baby mama, like his kids, well, not his kids, but her kids, they were like, well, could you be our dad? And I was like, no, you already got a father, so, but with that being said, like now, him, and his girlfriend, who he's been with for a couple of years with the two kids, and, he stays with them now, they have been having issues. And it's really not her. It's him, and he admits it. It's like now all of a sudden he wants to get with women who don't have any kids, and he has definitely been doing it. So, he's basically preparing himself to leave. But that's one of the few things that I've noticed about him as far as like, who he is going to abide by, as far as like listening to rules, and how long it would actually take him to listen to those rules and abide by it. um a lot of YouTube videos, I'll listen to from various people, just to kind of like get updates, and kind of like get a good laugh here and there from some people. um and he'll get upset about that. Like, I'll try to catch up because I got a YouTube channel as well, and I want to make sure that mine is up to par, like some of the fellow YouTubers that I admire. So um I guess that gives him the cue to start bringing up stuff in the community where I don't even like having those debates with him. And he'll just bring them up like when I could be talking about some food, that I'm thinking about eating, and then here he goes, yeah, man, see, that's why I can't mess with black people, because all the black community, this, and it makes me want to bring up, different points, but I have to restrain myself from doing it, because if I do it, then it'll be an argument. So I fall back. Um, and then I noticed, just recently with just kind of like Candid is, a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a while, actually. I did a live video with him. We was in Guitar Center. I know his older brother. His older brother's like, in the military, and they're all from Ukraine. And, he's going to school for computer science, and you know, we ran it. You know, first time seeing him drink, you know, we in the bar, you know, we kicking it and all that, and you know. Later on, you know, I tell my homeboy, and he's like, "Oh, well, see, you respect people like that more than me," and you know, and that was it. That was it right there, you know. So, I fell back, and you know, since then, like you know, things have been on a positive note. You know, things have been you know working out pretty good. Um, and I'm at peace. You know, so there's another issue now. Well, it's not. It's really you know that bad, but you know, there's another guy. He's much younger. He's you know 27 years old, and you know some of the points he does have it, but some things he does not, and it triggers me to bring up another video, which a couple brothers have definitely touched on the topic. One in particular who has the same views as I do is Minister Jap when he talks about Africans. Um, so you know he's on this shit about you know our people, this and you know our African people, and we need to go back and shit like that. I'm like, you know, hey, I'm here in America, man. You know, as far as going back, like you know, if they're not giving me any gold, any diamonds, you know, any oil like they do to white folks, shit. What's the sense of going back? What I'm gonna go back? Oh, I'm finally home to my African roots and just walk around with a dashiki, you know. So you know, he's telling me that you know black people pertains to you know people from Ghana, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, you know, South America, the Congos, you know, all of these people are black people, and I'm like, no, bro. No, it was, you know, Malcolm X and, you know, James Brown said loud, I'm black and I'm proud, is what, you know, gave black people this sense of identity. You know, I mean, even white people, like white people in America, you don't really hear, you know, too many people for the most part in other countries, you know, consider themselves white. You know, they consider themselves German or Britain or, you know, French, you know, Italian. You know, they don't consider themselves white. You know, it's only here in America where we associate color with you know a racial origin or you know we identify with race you know by colors and shit you know, and all of a sudden everybody, oh, the brown person, the yellow person, and shit. You know, it's just gotten ridiculous. Um, these other races, you know, they have their own culture. You know, they have their own identity. They speak their own language, and you know, I'm trying to tell him like, yeah, you know, you go and ask him, you know, to teach you how to speak Somali. You know, you go and ask him to teach you Twi and see if he has the time or the patience to teach you. You know, um, it's just crazy, man, having these arguments and you know, like I'm telling them, I'm like, look, not even being Hotep, but you know, black, you know, is identified as black American. You know, like this is the reason why, and I'm letting them know, like this is the reason why you cannot get a fucking job. You know, because when you look at these applications, you know, now it's like black or African American, and you know, anyone of African descent. You know, and then you know the way they operate as far as you know other Africans who do come here to America, you know, I mean they operate as a unit. You know, they have a sense of community when they do operate, and you typically you do not see that, um, you know, that they are willing to you know like work with black people on the large scale. You know, like they'll fuck with you. You know, as far as like you know the cheaper way out of getting you know out of some bullshit where they don't have to pay white folks. But you know, as far as like really doing business with you, no, no, not at all. But he's on you know my African descent. I'm waiting on him to show me a gun that was like made in Africa, like created in Africa. And he's like, yeah, man, you know Africa, you know they even create their own guns, and I'm like, oh, I gotta see this shit. You know, I've never seen that a day in my life. And I mean, I just get tired of it. I really do. You know, when it comes down to like other races, being able to eat off of black people, you know, and other blacks, they just don't see it. Just like I was watching who was that? Somebody else on YouTube, and they brought up the fact that when it comes down to like Black Lives Matter, and you don't really hear anyone marching and speaking up, and like really like on the large scale for the plight of black people. No, because they understand, like, yeah, we've made it off of the backs of these black folks. Like I'm like, you don't see Africans from any country who are over here standing up and advocating for Black Lives Matter, you know but then you want to go over there and you want to take and do business with them, like the Ghanaian president. I mean, he said some real shit, and I agree with a lot that he said. I mean, last year I watched him do a couple speeches. I haven't seen him recently, but I was just watching how he basically wants to keep the money within Ghana, and work with black business owners here, and have more of an established government, and a country that's able to take and share goods amongst other countries, and be able to you know be considered, at the table, at a lot of these G8 summits and shit, So, I hear a lot of Ghanaians here, even, like, I have a buddy, his family, he has a wife and three kids. The oldest one is like 18, and he's in college now. Um, but, when he was out in Ghana, doing the job, he would be around a lot of white Americans here, and he would ask, like, well, the black Americans, why don't they come over? And, the white guys out there would say, oh, they're awful. They don't want anything out of life. And, all they want to do is be gangsters and smoke weed. Like, just the normal stigma, that we get. And when a lot of these foreigners come over here, that's why they look, like, you look at us like they shit don't stink. They toot their nose up. Or I notice a lot of them, like, now what they do is they'll just hold their head down. They won't even look you in the eye. So, oh my God, it's a black person, oh shit, But I don't see why black people, want to get involved in everyone else's plight when, no one else was there for our plight. You know what I mean? I'm not the only YouTuber who makes that statement that, we fought, in every war, and even in civil rights, we were, you know, you know, on the forefront, against like white supremacy. And then after that, we have the Immigration Act that comes in 1965, because I mean both of them just came in like right after each other. It was 1965, I believe, both of those were passed, the Civil Rights Act as well as the Immigration Act. And just everything that black men have fought for has been been the benefit of just other races and the other gender. I mean, the same with affirmative action. I mean, black people, we do not benefit from affirmative action. I know someone else who mentioned, even at this school, his son goes to this school at this middle school where it's, like 85% Somalian, and I was like, damn, he's like, yeah, it's, the Somalians pretty much run the school, and there's just a handful of black people and white people scattered here and there. And, when he went to the school board, because, his son would always get into these fights with these Somalians, he discovered that, the money that's spent, to this school, the money that's provided, the demographics, it shows that, the large percentage of people there are African American. So when we talk about African American, it's like all of these other countries, they can come in and benefit from it. And I'm like, just like Minister Jap, like I ain't seen no motherfucking boat. Like, I ain't hear no stories about none of these motherfuckers coming over here, during slavery between like the 1600 and what 1620 something all the way up to 1865. Yeah, 1865 Civil War. Yeah, I didn't see. I didn't hear any stories about that shit. So, what's up with all of this dashiki? Want to go back home to my mother roots and shit? Like me, I'm trying to get to the Philippines. I'm trying to get to Palawan. I'm not really, considering going to any country in Africa. I mean, maybe to see a few gorillas. Because gorillas are, my one of my favorite animals. Elephants as well. I might go there for the animals, but I'm not going there to fuck with nobody out there. They have nothing to offer me. Nothing. It's not to say anything bad about it. It's like, that's a divided country as well. I mean, getting their shit together, but, here on the other end, I feel like black Americans have created more. They have, been innovators, more innovators here as black Americans, between, slavery and today than anyone in Africa. Like not more than anyone in Africa, but by large percentage, black Americans have done a hell of a lot in comparison to, what's going on in Africa. Hands down. Hands fucking down. And I mean, that goes from entertainment, that goes from science, goes from sports. Black Americans have done it all. These motherfuckers talking about they want to go back to Africa. All right. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that I'm falling out behind. I mean, going back to the whole, like, street culture and, keeping shit alive. Like I said, the dope game is just something to get in and get out of. Motherfuckers just want to just keep the shit alive, and they act like there's nothing wrong with it until all of a sudden, the white man comes along and throws them in jail or gives them some type of charge. But then again, you don't see any of them advocating to make the disbursement of these drugs legal. None at all. I mean, we've already discussed the whole hip hop culture and how that all plays into it, and single motherhood and being raised by hip hop and the feminine ways that's going on, just the feminine aspects of hip hop now, and how that plays on the kid's psyche. So motherfuckers just don't get it, and these are the same people who they love gangster rap, but they just don't realize like how quickly it's fading out. Like now all of a sudden it's cool to be a homosexual and be a gangster rapper and sip lean and pop pills. Like the ones who are like anywhere between I guess 30 and 45, maybe 50. Like they don't realize like these younger guys, like they're coming in with something completely different, a whole different style, a whole different genre, damn near. Like your parents used to tell you to cut your music down. Now you're gonna have to tell them to cut their music down, but it's gonna be bad and it's gonna be associated with some of the same things that you liked when you were coming up. But the music is changing, man. The style is changing. The style of clothes. Like these are guys I know wear baggy jeans. They still wear their pants off their ass and shit in their early to mid 30s, and because their older brothers and cousins listen to Scarface and all the gangster rap, so they know about it. They listen to this shit too, and they watched all the gangster movies and. But they don't realize like they still make these arguments about these young niggas and But before you know it, like Gucci Mane is not gonna be doing music anymore. Like a lot of these old cats, like they're gonna become irrelevant. If they're not already, because you don't really hear them on mainstream radio like that, unless you're Snoop Dogg or some shit. But these guys are becoming irrelevant. So your whole ideology, you're gonna change as well the older you get, and then not only that, you compromise with a whole nother style of music that you currently don't like, and that's due to your age, and you're not realizing that things are changing around you. So, um, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. Um, I tell you, man, I listen to a lot of contradictions. I mean, one today, I just didn't want to say anything. I was like, well, damn, you know what I mean? I was talking to this one girl. Um, she makes like $4,000 on average a month, and she's like, I guess 1.5 months, late on her rent. Like, she when she pays the rent, it goes to a previous month or something. She has a large income tax check coming in, but she still wants to call the rental assistance line to have um, them to pay her back rent. I think she said she's like a couple $1,000s back on her rent, but she hasn't gotten any eviction notice or anything because she's been paying it a month behind. And I'm like, damn, why don't you just use your income tax money to pay that shit? I'm not using my motherfucking income tax money to do that shit. I'm like, okay. I didn't want to say anything. I'm just like, interesting. Okay. But I mean, it's none of my business. Just saying, like, people want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the best of both worlds. Just like how I said, they want to come from the hood. And then have all of these riches. Well, but you gotta come from the hood and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to show that rags to riches story, and the same people who help destroy the neighborhood that they're shooting these videos in front of these abandoned buildings and shit. With their Lamborghini parked. But they don't know, no, they don't want to live in the community. But there's no problem when gentrification comes along and shit. And the same community is just taken over by another group of people. It's sad, man. And it's just a big contradiction. Motherfuckers want to have their cake and eat it too. Just the best of both worlds. Just like, you know, I'm gonna get on Instagram and show everybody that I got money, but I'm gonna use the government program. I ain't using my money to do this shit. With look, I got it going on. Look at me in Cancun. Um, I'm like, wow. So let's go ahead and end this video right here, man. You guys be cool. Sam, peace.